is that?
Some are saying that directed energy weapons are being deployed to spark the largest fire in Texas history. And we know that these weapons exist.
This newly released footage shows the Dragonfire laser directed energy weapon system in action, and it could be in the hands of military personnel in 5 years' time. It destroys targets with an intense beam of light and has pinpoint accuracy. It's able to hit something the size of a £1 coin from a kilometre away.
The fires we have seen in recent years, including the fires in Texas, are very different from what we have seen in the past. They often selectively spare the trees while burning the infrastructure into a powdery ash footprint.
I have witnessed and observed some extraordinary damage in our state. It could be caused by hurricanes or tornadoes, and frequently when you see the aftermath of that damage, there's some semblance of a structure that is still there. When you look at the damages that have occurred here, it's just gone, completely gone. Nothing left but ashes on the ground.
After the Maui fires, many people believed that a blue roof was able to deflect these directed energy weapons and spare the home from destruction. And Joe Biden recently alluded to this twice.
If you fly over these areas that are burned to the ground, you'll see in the midst of 20 homes that are just totally destroyed, one home sitting there because it had the right roof on it. And anyway. Yes, and by the way, if you notice you fly over in the helicopter, those places with good roofs, they didn't burn.
With the right materials.
Yeah. So we got to change that. Anyway.
Joe Biden is clearly not a reliable source of accurate information. But why would a roof save a house from burning? And while there is plenty of circumstantial evidence that suggests directed energy weapons are being used to start these recent fires, arsonists have been arrested starting them the old-fashioned way. And there is a clear motive. The United Nations, who have been orchestrating the open border policy of America and several other countries, have openly announced plans to clear the lands of people and move them into smart cities. Starting with Agenda 21, a map which shows designated off-limits to human areas lined up with the 2008 California fires. 9 years ago, planning was announced for smart cities to be built on Maui, but the most coveted property was owned by natives whose families have lived there for generations prior to Hawaii being annexed by the U.S. In August of 2023, Maui was devastated by highly suspicious fires. Roads were blocked off to keep residents from escaping, and the U.S. government gave survivors a mere $700 per household. A conference in April of 2023 met in Viña del Mar, Chile, to provide the municipality with support in the transfer of knowledge about the theory and solutions of smart cities. A year later, Viña del Mar was ravaged by fires. It was blamed on climate change, but local officials claimed arson. And in 2022, Amarillo, Texas was reported to be the #1 area under the radar for the Texas housing market under the United Nations Vision 2045. On February 26th of this year, the biggest fire of Texas broke out in this same area. Vision 2045 is the latest iteration of the United Nations plan to seize control of 90% of the land and limit people to 15-minute cities.
I'd like to think that change happens in manageable ways. It doesn't happen like that. It happens in punctuated equilibria, where we have periods of stability and then periods of massive, radical, disruptive and transformative change. And that is where we are right now.
This is the decisive decade in the history of humanity. We who are here now have a responsibility that no future generations will have.
Reporting for InfoWars, this is Greg Reese.
Hello and welcome. It's Doug Diamond here. You reached another Diamond Report Live. Glad you guys are here. It's 10:10 p.m. Central Time on 3/17/24, St. Paddy's Day. How about that? Anyway, hope you guys have had a good weekend, and let's take a look at the news. I guess Hal's website is down at the moment. He's stated recently on some radio shows that he is in the middle of a revamp or something. So we won't be looking at any Hal Turner radio show articles tonight. So that's why I've got this first one pulled up here, which is a Revolver News article. Florida braces for impact. Hurricane Haiti is about to crash the Sunshine State with no survivors. Florida's gearing up for a massive impact, but no, it's not facing down a Category 7 hurricane. It's something even more daunting. A massive influx of Haitian migrants is heading its way, all expecting a warm U.S. welcome, complete with open arms, free health insurance, and whatever else they might wish for. What is the current state of Haiti? An utter catastrophe. Yet, this is somewhat to be expected. After all, Haiti stands as the first nation established on the principles of DEI. How about that? Yes, and I'm sure the CIA likes DEI too, don't they? Lots of alphabet letters. Jesse Waters here tweeted, Haiti's on the brink of collapse. The jails have been emptied. Bloodthirsty gangs patrol the streets, and the now resigned prime minister fled for his life to Puerto Rico. We spent $6 billion on Haiti, and what happened? It talks about gender-inclusive police forces. Joe Biden helped install this weak, feckless prime minister. It's interesting that he would install somebody who's weak and feckless. Pretty much describes him, too. It says this was just another abysmal failure for Grandpa Sleeps a Lot. The crisis in Haiti has grown more and more severe, with the prime minister resigning early Tuesday morning and the gangs taking over, further inciting violence and terror. Meanwhile, Florida Congressman Matt Gaetz is ringing the alarm loud and clear. He's adamant he doesn't want Southeast Florida to turn into Haiti. He's urging Biden to do the right thing, which pretty much sounds like a long shot. Well, yeah, because it's Biden's gang, i.e. the CIA, in my opinion, who probably have caused this to begin with. So do you think they're going to do anything, really? Come on, Gates, however you say your name. Anyway, he's tweeting about it. I don't think he's going to get the help he's looking for. Says, in fact, it seems those 300,000 migrants have already gotten the green light to proceed. At this rate, Biden's determination to flip Florida blue, come hell or high water, and while Biden builds his voter base, Florida is bracing for impact. So if you live in Florida, I know you're aware of this, but just be aware, too, that the government is not here to help. In fact, they're causing the problem, and in fact, it's up to you guys. And you may have to take matters into your own hands, whatever that means, to protect your personal safety and your private property. So you can read into that what you want. Elon Musk retweet of G. Edward Griffin's interview with Yuri Bezmenov gets over 20 million views. This is on G. Edward Griffin's site, needtoknow.news. Thought that was kind of interesting. We've had Mr. Griffin on Lost Arts Radio before as an interview a couple different times over the years, and I've had the pleasure to meet him. He's a really neat guy, and I really respect him a lot. He's been around forever. I think he's in his 90s now. But this is talking about the Musk retweet. He retweeted a post from Benjamin Carlson that contained video clips from a 1984 interview featuring G. Edward Griffin and Yuri Bezmenov. You may have seen it. I don't know. I've seen clips of it. A Soviet KGB operative who defected to the U.S. Bezmenov lists the 4 stages of ideological subversion created by radical Marxists to indoctrinate and weaken nations from within. The original interview, titled Deception Was My Job, may be purchased on DVD here, and there's a link. Please share the Need to Know news with family and friends and subscribe to this link. And this is a website that I mention pretty much every week, needtoknow.news. I think he's doing good work. And the interview is here, at least part of it. So if you haven't seen it, feel free to take a look at these embedded videos on needtoknow.news on the homepage at the moment. And we'll link to this and all the other articles that I mentioned tonight in the Substack post. So if you just want to wait for the link, that's totally fine. You'll probably get that on the Substack that I send out either tomorrow or Tuesday. It's been Tuesday lately, so we'll probably stick with that. And the reasoning for that I will explain in a bit. And you guys that have been here regularly on this show, you'll understand and know why it's probably going to be Tuesday. It just has to do with the YouTube version of this show. So anyway, more on that in a minute. I thought this was kind of interesting, and we've got a clip of this, and I'm going to play in just a little bit, but just to get you guys prepared for this. This is like, I guess you could call this Big Mike 2.0. You guys know about this? Talking about Candace Owens, who is really kind of been on a bit of a, I don't know if you call it a rant, but she's been on a bit of a jag lately, talking about the president of France and his supposed wife. So we're going to get into that here in just a minute. And this article, though, is talking about Candace Owens says CIA behind TikTok ban. It's also promoted by the Jewish Federations and the ADL. Candace Owens explains that the CIA and the military-industrial complex are behind the ban of the Chinese company TikTok because Gen Z has shown disregard for supporting never-ending wars in the Middle East. Yeah, they can't do that, so we must ban them. The Jewish Federations, representing over 350 Jewish communities in the U.S. and the ADL, called on Congress to shut down TikTok, accusing it of allowing anti-Semitism and anti-Israel sentiment to, quote, run rampant. Candace warned that if TikTok is banned, Israel, the Jewish lobby group AIPAC, AIPAC, and the ADL, and the Jews will be blamed for banning TikTok, and it will inspire anti-Semitism. Well, that's a good point. So anything that they're hoping for, I think it's going to backfire like it always does. But yes, of course, I mean, I think all of us here pretty much dislike TikTok, but yeah, when you start getting into banning apps for quote-unquote reasons of whatever they're calling it, national security or whatever they're couching it in today, that means they're also going to ban your other favorite apps. Maybe people and podcasters and news organizations that you like their apps. Maybe, perhaps you're on the Substack app. Maybe they decide someday that the Substack app is worth banning. And the government, if it sets this precedent to ban TikTok, could very easily ban whoever they want. And that's the whole purpose, really, in this legislation. So I think Candace understands that and is on the right side of things here, hopefully. So this has to do with anti-Semitism, which, of course, is the new racist comment. So now, people used to cower in the corner when they were called racists. And today, if somebody calls you a racist, you're sort of used to it. And now it's an anti-Semite. So that's apparently even worse now. So what do they say about words can never hurt me? What's the old saying? Yes. I sort of still subscribe to that fact. That names are just names, right? Doesn't mean it's true, just because someone calls you that. So anyway, that's on needtoknow.news as well. And then I've got another article here pulled up from Revolver. I thought this was kind of interesting. If they showed you what they showed me, you wouldn't have released it either. Trump responds to the unreleased JFK files. So, and I know you guys know about this. I think we've even talked about this before on this program, but I thought this little clip here from Judge Knapp was kind of interesting. So let's listen to this.
In my last conversation with President Trump in the White House, he called me a lot. And this is after January 6th, so it's 2 weeks before, or a week before he's leaving office. He wanted to run past me the names of people he was going to pardon and sentences he was going to commute. He wanted my opinion on them. Some of them I knew. I said, how you doing? He said, not too well. And he went off into a tangent about what he thought happened with the election. I said, you made a promise to the public many times and to me privately that you haven't kept. What? I'll take care of it right now. I said, you promised you would release the records of the JFK assassination. He said to me, Judge, if they showed you what they showed me, you wouldn't have released it either. And I said, who's they and what did they show you? And then he said, Judge, someday when we're on the phone, and then he raised his voice, and there aren't 15 people listening to the phone call, back to a normal voice, I'll tell you.
Oh, my God.
I mean, this makes it sound even worse. Who are they? Probably somebody in the intelligence community. What did they show him? JFK's brains blown out?
This is it. You know, it was said by one person that after the Kennedy assassination, there has been no president. They have only been factotums of the system since then.
Yeah.
It may well be the most decisive event in modern American history.
Right.
Yep. I think it was. Anyway, that's what this article is talking about here. I thought that was kind of interesting. You know, we know that we didn't get the JFK files, and it looks like we never will, no matter who the president is, right? Because they have it planned not to ever let this information out. Which, you know, if you've studied this thing at all, you know there are probably myriad of reasons why they decided to off JFK. But I think that's really where the modern military-industrial complex really took over. I mean, they were definitely building quite the infrastructure leading up to that, obviously. But, yeah, I think his assassination is what really triggered a lot of the stuff that we're seeing today. Just totally out of control. Not only government, but just American empire out of control. Running roughshod over the entire world. All right, on Slay News, DeSantis sends warning to criminal illegals. You are going to regret coming to Florida. Governor DeSantis has sent a stern warning to criminal illegal aliens versus the non-criminal illegal aliens, I guess. Aren't illegal aliens by definition criminal? Who are planning to head to Florida after being deported from the United States. On Friday, DeSantis signed 3 bills to combat illegal immigration in Florida. These bills also continue Florida's efforts to maintain law and order and take proactive measures against illegal aliens who engage in criminal activity. During a press conference about the moves, DeSantis dropped the hammer on deported criminal illegals. The governor promised they would regret coming to the state of Florida. Well, let's hope he makes good on that. Don't hold your breath, though, right? If you have been deported and you come to this state and you're here illegally and you commit crimes, we are throwing the book at you. You're going to regret coming to the state of Florida, he says. So anyway, there's the video clip embedded there. If you want to read more and see more about this, but this is some of the new laws, I guess. Governor DeSantis signed the following bills into law: SB 1036, which enhances penalties for a crime committed by an individual who returns to the country illegally after an initial deportation. So they deport him and they come back. So I don't know how much this would have to do with the Haitians headed that way, but it's possible it could help. We'll see. I'm not in Florida, so I can't really, know firsthand what's going on there, but many of my friends are. So we'll see. I'm sure we'll hear firsthand from many folks in Florida as to how this thing plays out with the Haitians headed their way. Mish talk. Biden wants to hike taxes by $7 trillion. $7 trillion. If Democrats win the trifecta, they're not going to win. They're just going to steal it, like always. That's how it works. If Democrats, quote, win the trifecta with a clean sweep of the House, the Senate, and the White House in November, taxes would rise by $7 trillion over 10 years. And of course, personally, I don't think we're here for 10 more years, but that's what this article is saying anyway. House Ways and Means Committee reports the Biden tax hike will likely exceed $7 trillion. I believe they mean would, not will. It will exceed. Yes, that's right. So anyways, we kind of had a feeling that was coming. Of course, they love taxes, which of course is not necessary whatsoever, but they do it anyway. So anyway, this is on Mishtalk. Mishtalk.com is where that article is. And then an MSN article I came across. Federal prosecutors request over 40 years in prison for FTX con man Sam Bankman-Fried. I guess old Sam here has worn out his usefulness, hasn't he? If this is even true, who knows? Federal prosecutors believe convicted fraudster Sam Bankman-Fried should be sent away to prison for at least 40 years. Prosecutors from the Southern District of New York filed a lengthy sentencing memo on Friday, arguing that Bankman-Fried should spend 40 to 50 years behind bars for orchestrating a multi-billion-dollar fraud scheme at cryptocurrency exchange platform FTX. Yes, but all that money was made it back to the Democrat Party, or at least a lot of it made it back to the Democrat Party. So if he would have been a Republican, you can bet, I think the 40 to 50 years would be like 400 to 500 years, just like if his last name ended with the word Trump. So, yeah, kind of interesting. And who knows what will happen there. I mean, they could Epstein him, disappear him, say he's dead, and just kind of get him out of the way and move him somewhere else, change his identity. But they'll have to give him a haircut, though, because he's a fairly clown-looking guy. I think people will see him and know who he is if they don't give him quite the disguise. They're going to hide his identity. We'll see what happens. I don't know. Maybe he's, like I said, maybe he's outlived his usefulness as far as the Democrat Party and the untold billions of dollars he raised for him. So maybe he is actually going to go to prison. We'll say that we'll see, but we don't know that what we see is true. So we'll just have to take a guess, I suppose. Some Miami airport travelers will be asked to swab what to know about the health check. Again, this is courtesy of MSN.com, so take it or leave it. But this is talking about the Miami airport. So back to Florida again here. And then a few of the headlines from technocracy.news. Whitehead says tyranny is rising as freedom falls. With a PhD in philosophy, Arndt experienced the rise of Hitler in Germany and the horrors of concentration camps before she escaped to the U.S. in 1941. She is qualified to speak about tyranny. Technocrats who willingly helped Hitler kill millions of useless eaters were just as insane as he was. This is the case today, but now technocrats themselves are leading the world to its doom. Tyranny is rising as freedom falls. And then the next one, the big squeeze. Over 140,000 U.S. farms lost in 5 years. This editor has an extensive background in farming and ranching, so this story is both sad and maddening. The plight of family farms has been dire for decades, but it is now getting existential. The UN's Agenda 21 and 2030, coupled with the war on carbon and nitrogen-based fertilizers on the one hand, and on the other, the massive consolidation of the food chain into 6 giant global corporations. Yep, and we've got a short video we're going to watch in a little bit called The Farm Wars. So we'll have a little bit more info on that in just a little bit. And then this is the third article on technocracy.news. It begins. AI is being used to deceive voters, disrupt elections worldwide. Of course it is. I mean, it's one of its useful purposes, I'm sure, that it was designed to do. The WEF, UN, and global elitists want to destroy democracy worldwide, even as they say that they will save democracy. The WEF's main topic in its 2024 meetup in Davos was, quote, disinformation that threatens its existence, even as calls went out to big tech governments and, quote, fact checkers to harness AI to do away with dissent. Thus, the article below should be understood as a Trojan horse to mask the institutional deceivers while blaming the rest on everybody else. Yes, you disinformationalists out there, you know who you are. If you're watching this show, you're probably one of them. So that's okay. It's a badge I wear with honor. If they call it disinformation, you know it's probably pretty much exactly spot on the truth. All right, on reclaimthenet.org, U.S. pushes for global AI regulations at UN, calling for effective safeguards. That's kind of interesting. Global AI regulations. Who knows? That's probably not going to happen. World Bank and Verizon chiefs say digital ID part of social contract between the government and citizens. Supreme Court unanimously rules public can sue officials who block them on social media in some circumstances. The public can sue officials. So, interesting, huh? Polish NGO wins fight against Facebook censorship. USAID's disinformation primer documents reveal censorship promotion across sectors. South by Southwest is accused of using copyright and trademark claims to suppress criticism. Says they trademark copyright strikes are increasingly being used to force content takedowns. So that's something that happens on YouTube a lot, from what I gather. So anyway, those articles and more is on reclaimthenet.org. Pretty good site. So I saw this and thought you guys might be interested in seeing this film, I guess. It says the Assange Story 2024. It's a RT documentary. Julian Assange, founder of WikiLeaks, has been a polarizing figure for over a decade, exposing classified documents and correspondence that shed light on America's wars, politicians, and corporations. That's why he's in jail. So anyway, here it is, the Assange Story. It's a documentary. I haven't watched it, so I can't really recommend it. But I would watch it just to see what it's about, and I think I will try and do that soon. Time is at a premium at the moment for me, so finding time to do it is a whole other story. But just know it is out there, and it's linked to and embedded here on the Liberty Beacon. You can find it there, or wait for the Substack post that I send out. Migrants take selfies after breaching the border wall in Arizona. So there they are, taking selfies. Migrants entering the U.S. through breaches in border walls in Arizona continue, as more than 320,000 have been encountered so far this fiscal year. Says the video shows migrants taking selfies after successfully traveling from Mexico to Arizona. Yes, they made it. And they know that they're going to get it's essentially, when they come across the border illegally like that, every single one of them have won the lottery. I mean, basically, compared to what they were used to having and to what they get now that they're in America for free, every one of them, you can say they've won the lottery. Week in review, this is a tweet that's embedded here. 10,500 apprehensions, 210 federal criminal cases, 24 rescues, 23 human smuggling events, 6 narcotic events, 2 significant arrests, and 1 firearm seized. Only 1. So I still maintain that I think they're going to be arming these people before too long as they're coming in. I mean, why not? Is it really that hard to imagine that they would? Says more than 10,000 migrants were apprehended in the Tucson sector during the past week, according to unofficial Border Patrol report posted on social media by the chief patrol agent. Some of the migrants take selfies and videos, which are subsequently posted on social media to encourage other migrants to make the dangerous trip to the U.S. from countries all over the world. So, anyways, March total is at least 22,700 migrants who crossed in the first 14 days. And of course, that's just into Arizona, I guess, and those are low numbers, obviously. So, who knows what the real numbers are? But it definitely appears to be in the 30 to 40 million total nationwide. So, as far as what I'm hearing, anyways. So, taking selfies, I guess, is not really that hard to believe. So that's on the Liberty Beacon, and one more from that site. Tyson Foods firing blue-collar workers and replacing them with illegals. So this is an article about boycotting Tyson Foods for that reason. It's time to Bud Light them, this says. This is an article from Tyler Durden, which I guess is a Zero Hedge article. Calls for a boycott are intensifying on X following Tyson Foods' announcement earlier this week to shutter a pork processing facility in Perry, Iowa. This move will eliminate 1,276 blue-collar jobs. At the same time, the mega food processor has expressed interest in hiring tens of thousands of illegals. Well, to me, it sort of remains to be seen if they're even coming across the border and wanting to work. Why would they? They're just going to get everything for free anyway. But I digress. It says, while this decision was not easy, it emphasizes our focus to optimize the efficiency of our operations to best serve our customers, a Tyson spokesperson said in a statement to Food Dive. Perhaps the optimization part of the supply chain is better explained by Garrett Dolan, who leads Tyson's efforts to eliminate employment barriers such as immigration status. This is the quote, "We would like to employ another 42,000 migrants if we could find them." Well, go to Texas. Go to Arizona. You'll find them. But getting them to work is a whole other thing, if you ask me. The idea that Tyson is firing hardworking Americans while attempting to exploit cheap labor from illegals enraged ex-users. Many of them called for a boycott of all Tyson brands. So this is the End Wokeness Twitter account. Tyson's closing its facility in Perry, Iowa, laying off its 1,200 workers. Instead, they plan to hire thousands of new illegals in states like New York. Hashtag boycott Tyson, pass it on. Here's the brands. So if you didn't really know what all Tyson encompasses, it's all of these different brands. There's a bunch of them there. So just so you're aware where your money is going. Anyway, that's on the Liberty Beacon as well. All right, I saw this one and thought I would mention it because we were talking about race a little while ago. And take a good look at these pictures here. And also note the yellow circles here, here, and here, and here. Libs of TikTok. You guys probably have heard of Libs of TikTok. These are profiles from the New Jersey inmate database. Does anyone notice a strange pattern happening here? Well, let's see. This guy says white. This guy, white. This guy, also white. And this guy, also white. So, man, are they colorblind in New Jersey? Good for them. They don't even notice race. They just think everybody's white. So, isn't that nice? No, obviously, that is a plan. So, yep. It's in part to pad the statistics in favor of white crime. That way they can say all of these, quote, white people have committed all these crimes. So they get it in the database wrong. That's all they need to pad the numbers and say whatever they want to say. In part, I'm sure there's many other reasons as well. I just thought that was kind of interesting. So yeah, Libs of TikTok has unveiled this interesting little tidbit, huh? Susan saying, I boycotted Tyson Foods when I found out how nasty their plants are and also how the mandatory buy was used during the worldwide debacle. Okay, all right. That makes sense. Yeah, Tyson Foods doesn't exactly have a really great history as far as humanitarian enterprises there, I don't think. I found this on nationalguard.mil. Alaska and Maine Guard conduct disaster preparation exercise. Did you guys know about this one? I didn't. It says Anchorage, the National Guard's always ready, always there motto symbolizes its vigilant presence across the nation. In Alaska, where natural disasters like earthquakes pose significant threats, a prompt and coordinated response is paramount. Exercise Vigilant Guard 2024, held March 4th through 8th, assessed the readiness of the Alaska National Guard and its partner agencies for such crises. VG24, so it's Vigilant Guard, that's the name of the exercise, simulated a massive 9.2 magnitude earthquake with the epicenter in south central Alaska in Prince William Sound, the same area as the 1964 Good Friday earthquake. Approximately 350 participants from local, state, and federal organizations worked together to reinforce partnerships and preparedness in a joint interagency environment. Isn't that nice? The more players, the more interagency coordination we can get, the better we can practice, says Brigadier General Kenneth Radford, Director of Alaska National Guard Joint Staff and Dual Status Commander for the exercise. We have a plan on how we think we'll respond, but you never know how things are going to play out until the real event happens. Therefore, it's all for naught. No, I guess it's good that they practiced, but still. The scenarios were executed over 5 days with damaged infrastructure in the municipality of Anchorage, city of Cordova, city of Valdez, and throughout the Kenai Peninsula Borough. The simulated earthquake also triggered tsunami waves in Cordova, Valdez, and KPB, Kenai Peninsula Borough. You guys ever been to Alaska? I have one time, and I loved it. I thought it was amazing. Amazing country there. Wow. But, Yeah, and Anchorage is all. I think there's a limit on the number of stories you can have on buildings in Anchorage. That's why Anchorage, Alaska has almost no skyline, because there's no buildings over, say, 2 or 3 floors because of the massive earthquake that happened back in, I guess, the 64 quake. Anyway, that's on nationalguard.mil is where that is. Kind of wild that they're preparing for a 9.2 magnitude quake. Very interesting. All right, Wine Press News. FBI and DHS partner with gaming companies and forums to crack down on extremist gamers and, quote, conspiracy theories, because they have nothing better to do. The FBI and the DHS partnering with gaming companies. Some of these alleged terrorist threats include things based on conspiracy theories, religion, gender, or sexual orientation. Isn't that nice? The U.S. government is partnering with a number of gaming companies and social media platforms to clamp down on what they're referring to as extremist gamers. So there you go. The new threat. Apparently that's even worse than being an anti-Semite. I guess the absolute worst thing you could possibly be would be an anti-Semite extremist gamer. That'd be about as bad as you could possibly be. You probably get thrown in prison immediately. The FBI and Department of Homeland Security, according to a report by the federal government's accounting office published in January and recently released to close out the month of February, are now working to monitor and mitigate supposed language that promotes extremism. Of course, they get to define extremism. Isn't that nice? The report, titled Countering Violent Extremism, FBI and DHS need strategies and goals for sharing threat information with social media and gaming companies. I'm looking to see what is such a threat about these gamers. The fact that they're, using virtual guns, maybe. I don't know. Just a guess. According to social media and gaming companies GAO met with, they are various content moderation tools to identify and remove content they determine violates their platform's policies related to domestic violent extremism on their platforms. For example, they report using machine learning tools to scan for content that violates their policies, as well as reviews by employees. However, companies and experts reported that several factors affect these moderation efforts, such as company financial considerations, in other words, how much they pay them off, and diversity in standards of acceptable content. For example, content banned on one platform could be allowed on another. Well, they're probably looking for people with guns who have flags and anything else they can call patriotic in a video game. You instantly get flagged. So here's some of the other details here. Racially or ethnically motivated violent extremism, anti-government or anti-authority violent extremism, which of course is anything that disagrees with the government, animal rights or environmental violent extremism, which would probably be like driving a car or walking your dog, abortion-related violent extremism, which means opposing abortion, I'm sure, and all other domestic terrorism threats. So there you go. Your tax dollars at work, I suppose. Pretty wild. That's on the Wine Press is where that one is. Singularity Hub. Colossal creates elephant stem cells for the first time in quest to revive the woolly mammoth. The woolly mammoth. Because there's just not enough woolly mammoths running around. The last woolly mammoth roamed the vast Arctic tundra 4,000 years ago. Their genes still live on in the majestic animal today, the Asian elephant, which, by the way, I've ridden on the back of before. When I went to Thailand many years ago, I got to ride on an elephant. I guess I'm now anti-elephant instead of anti-Semitic. With 99.6% similarity in their genetic makeup, Asian elephants are the perfect starting point for a bold plan to bring back the mammoth or something close to it. So it may not exactly be a mammoth, but we're going to call it that. You ever seen Jurassic Park? I don't think these people have. Back from Extinction, the project launched by biotech company Colossal in 2021. How about that name? Colossal. Raised eyebrows for its moonshot goal. The overall playbook sounds straightforward. The first step is to sequence and compare the genomes of mammoth and elephant. Next, scientists will identify the genes behind the physical traits, long hair, fatty deposits, that allowed mammoths to thrive in freezing temperatures, and then insert them into elephant cells using gene editing. What could possibly go wrong? Finally, the team will transfer the nucleus, which houses DNA, from the edited cells into an elephant egg and implant the embryo into a surrogate. The problem, the problem, Asian elephants are endangered and their cells, especially eggs, are hard to come by. Well, I'm sure they'll find a workaround. Let's see. It says, last week the company reported a major workaround. For the first time, they transform elephant skin cells into stem cells, each with the potential to become any cell or tissue in the body. So it's a stem cell. That's how they're getting around it. So yeah, we need more woolly mammoths. Hashtag bring back the woolly mammoths. Right? Susan says, I've ridden an elephant, not nearly as exotic setting, in the Barnum and Bailey Circus. Well, they're good for you. That's good. That counts. Now, I got to ride one on the, we were at an elephant park in Chiang Mai, Thailand. I was with a big group, and me and a buddy of mine got to sit on the back and go for a ride on an elephant with everyone else that was on the trip, which was, I don't know, quite a few people. And, yeah, it was a lot of fun, actually. And they were very well mannered, but they were nothing like woolly mammoths. I don't remember them being hairy at all. All right, so the next article here is from RT. Your vampire ball is over. I thought this was pretty interesting Putin quote. Putin is saying to the Western elites, your vampire ball is over. I love it. Exploitation of other nations by the so-called golden billion is coming to an end, Russian president has stated. Yeah. So there you go. If he says it, it must be true. The era of Western elites being able to exploit other nations and other peoples across the world is coming to an end, Putin said in an interview published on Wednesday. The president stated that over the past few centuries, the so-called golden billion has grown accustomed to being able to fill their bellies with human flesh and their pockets with money, as they have been parasitizing other people in Africa, Asia, and Latin America. But they must understand that the vampire ball is ending, Putin said. That pretty much sums it up. They are running the vampire ball. And they are blood-sucking over all of us, aren't they? Well, he's not wrong. I'll give him that. That's on RT.com. And I noticed over here on what's trending, on Twitter, look what's trending. King Charles is trending right now. I wonder why. Yeah, so anyways, if you guys want to check into that, feel free to do that and let me know in chat. King Charles is trending on Twitter right now. Kind of interesting. Who knows why? All right. So we'll come back to that if it's worth bringing up. All right, so the next thing is from the Federalist, thefederalist.com. Not a single Democrat, is what the headline I saw earlier said. Not a single Democrat witness in Congress agreed. Only citizens should vote in federal elections. So there wasn't a single Democrat that thought that only citizens should vote in federal elections, because that would be racist. You can't do that. None of the Democrat witnesses in a congressional hearing Tuesday could say resolutely that they believe only citizens should be allowed to be able to vote in a federal election. Is this a surprise? I don't think so. During the Senate Judiciary hearing on the John Lewis Voting Rights Act, Republican Utah Senator Mike Lee asked the witnesses to provide a basic yes or no answer to a series of questions about non-citizens voting. Do you believe that only citizens of the United States should be able to vote in federal elections? Lee asked each one of the witnesses. We don't have a position about non-citizens voting in federal elections. We believe that's what the current laws are, and so we're certainly fighting for everyone who's eligible under current law to vote. So there you go. That is a political answer, a politician's answer, isn't it? That's not yes or no. It says that's a decision of the state law, but I want to emphasize, president of the Southwest Voter Registration Education Project, Lydia Camarillo, said, it's a decision of the state law as to who should vote in federal elections. States decide who gets to vote in various elections. In federal elections, I believe that we should be encouraging people to naturalize and then vote, or just come across any of the border states and vote whenever you come across. How about that? And by the way, vote Democrat. That's how it's actually happening. So anyways, just figured I would point out that not a single Democrat would say that only citizens should vote, which of course, not a surprise, is it? Hannibal Run. Biden administration warns Florida may get swamped by mass migration from Haiti. If only someone had given the Clintons a few more $1 billion to vaporize, as they fixed Haiti, they fixed them all right, using a criminal combo of toxic construction, failed investments, and the promotion of dead-end macroeconomic policies before its president was assassinated in broad daylight, and before the whole island turned into an anarchic, warlord-ridden Mad Max wasteland of cannibals, maybe things could have turned out different, or maybe not. With the world still shocked at the whirlwind events taking place in the formerly quaint Caribbean island, on Tuesday, Department of Defense officials testifying in Congress discussed the possibility of a mass migration into Florida as conditions in Haiti continue to deteriorate. Call it a Hannibal Run? Question mark. So, talking about Matt Gaetz again. He was deeply concerned. So, we mentioned that earlier. So, here is yet more info on the mass migration wave of illegals headed towards Florida. So, that will be interesting to see what happens there. Daily Mail, this is probably just a total coincidence. Boeing whistleblower John Barnett is found dead in his truck outside a South Carolina hotel just days after testifying in a lawsuit against the aviation giant. It's not like Boeing is a federal contractor or part of the military-industrial complex, and they would never have anybody offed, would they? John Barnett, 62, is found dead in his truck in a hotel parking lot Saturday. Cops made the announcement Monday, saying he was in Charleston for the suit. The ex-quality manager at Boeing's North Charleston plant gave a deposition to Boeing as recently as last week after claiming they were using second-rate parts. Second-rate parts, which is why their doors are falling off. They're forgetting to put screws in the hinges and keeping the doors on the planes. A former Boeing staffer who once raised concerns about the company's production standards has been found dead in the U.S. So, yeah. He was found dead in his truck in a parking lot. But there's no foul play involved. That's what I'm looking for. It says, ex-quality manager at Boeing's North Charleston plant died from a self-inflicted wound. Oh, of course, he shot himself. Probably several times. That's my guess. Barnett's death came during a break-in depositions in a whistleblower retaliation suit where he allegedly under pressure workers were deliberately fitting substandard parts onto aircraft on the assembly line. He said that in some cases, second-rate parts were literally removed from scrap bins before being fitted onto planes that were being built to prevent delays. A 2017 review by the FAA upheld some of his concerns, requiring Boeing to take action. Well, they probably didn't like that too much. He had just given a deposition to Boeing's lawyers for the case this past week, his attorney said. So, yep, his death has been called tragic. Yeah? Unless you're part of the upper echelon of management at Boeing, it's probably not too tragic. That's my guess. Anyways, yep. So there you go. That's on Daily Mail is where that article is. Keep plugging away here. We've got quite a few articles to look at tonight. And a number of videos. So we'll just see how much we can get through tonight. We've got lots to go through as per usual. Oh, it's not quite 11:11. It's 11:12. I missed it by 1 minute. How NATO powers are using the UK's World War I model to lure Russia into the next big global war. This is on leohoman.com. Using duplicity, deception, and secret alliances, the UK's inner circle of top elites, led by Nathaniel Rothschild, King Edward VII, Lord Alfred Milner, backed the German Kaiser into a corner and intentionally set the Germans up to blame them for starting the First World War, when in fact it was the British who provoked the Germans to the point where war was the only option. German generals were caught strategizing several weeks ago on how to bomb Russia's main bridge to Crimea. This would be an act of aggression that Russian President Putin described as guaranteed to draw a harsh military response from Russia, possibly even including a nuclear strike against Berlin. So they're trying it all over again. Because guess what? It worked the first time. It's on leohoman.com, and there is a full article there. I just read the first little bit. But yeah, he puts out some good articles, I think. Peoplesvoice.tv is where this one is. The Peoplesvoice.tv leaked docs reveal the WEF is in charge of Canada's climate change policies. I know you're shocked. Newly leaked documents reveal that the WEF has secretly been in charge of Canada's net zero climate change policies for several years now, according to documents from the Environment and Climate Change Department, the ECCC. Trudeau has been funneling taxpayer money to the WEF to pay them for being an arm of Canada's government. Well, isn't that exactly what the Klaus Schwab video said a long time ago, that Trudeau was basically said Trudeau was a perfect puppet. Tampon Trudeau was a perfect puppet for the WEF. I don't think they used the word puppet, but that's what he meant. In August 2019, the ECCC, Environment and Climate Change Department's then minister, funneled $493,000 of taxpayers' money to the WEF to produce net zero rules for the country, then adopted as revealed in response to an order paper question sent by Conservative MP Leslyn Lewis. The countersignal.com reports specifically the documents reveal the ECCC gave money to enable the WEF to produce and disseminate a report that will establish the business and economic case for safeguarding nature. Yeah, right. So anyway, that is on the People's Voice. A couple more from this site. Teacher sacked for refusing to treat 8-year-old girl as a boy. A teacher in a British primary school was sacked for, I think that means fired, for refusing to treat an 8-year-old girl as a boy. Will be telling an employment tribunal this week about her serious concerns for the child's welfare. You don't say. The teacher has been ordered by the head teacher to go along with the wishes of the pupil to socially transition under the guidance of the controversial LGBT charity Stonewall. So yes, they're going to pressure this teacher into doing what the kid wants, because the kid knows best. The brainwashed kid knows best. Anyway. All right, and then this one, NATO ally says UK should consider conscription and introduce national service to deter Russia. I don't think that's going to work. Britain should consider a conscription and adopt Finland's model of national service to deter Russia. I don't think that's going to scare them. Have you seen how big their army is? Conscription, of course, means a draft. We're going to draft them. According to Latvia's foreign minister, says the only way to defend against Russia's aggressive policy. No, it's not really aggressive. They're just doing what they said they were going to do. Protect their own sovereignty and keep the missiles off of their borders. Anyway, it says was to consider a total defense model which would involve conscription of citizens to fight on the front lines. I'm sure that's going to go over well. Could you imagine, and also imagine them trying that here? I don't think it would work. Not the way they would think it would, anyway. All right, so here's this one. I mentioned this earlier. This is also on the People's Voice. Candace Owens sends shockwaves around France. Macron's wife is a man, and I have the proof. And I saw this. I saw this article. I don't know, not this, but something like this about this situation a couple weeks ago, and didn't really bother reporting on it. I was not really even looking into it because I figured it didn't really matter. But I think she's onto something here. I really do, and I think it's worth a look. Candace Owens says she has stone-cold proof that French President Macron's wife, Brigitte, is a pedophile male. So, you know, like her or not, I really think that it's worth a listen, and it's worth looking at this. It says, much like what happened with Michelle Obama, whom many believe is a transgender named Michael, who now pretends to be a woman, Bridget Macron, 70, also appears to have extremely masculine physical traits. So we're going to watch that for just a sec. Before we do, we're going to watch just a clip of it. You guys can go watch the full thing. But before we do, I thought I would play this. I'm going to mute this because it's got music in it that I don't want to get copyright flagged for. But this says, this is a tweet by someone on X, says, an NBA player wearing 6-inch stilettos would look more graceful than this. So this is Macron's lovely wife. And I'm putting that in quotes, air quotes. So here is Bridget Macron, right? So there she is, strolling about, so lovely, so feminine. Okay, so just keep that in mind. And then there's this, zoom into Bridget Macron. Can you spot the difference? Now, I saw that and didn't really think much of it just because it looks photoshopped. But let's take a look at what Miss Candace here has to say. And we're just going to listen to a little bit of this. But I think it's interesting for sure.
Because, of course, you could live alone when you are 24 years old in the United States. Again, there are multiple examples of the First Lady just being too young in terms of the past stories that she keeps telling. Then there is the remarkably strange case of Brigitte's alleged ex-husband. So just to remind you, jog your memory, the story goes, she was married, right? And at the age of 40 years old, she fell in love, so much so that she left her husband because she just loved this 16-year-old or 15-year-old or 14-year-old drama student so much. She left her husband and her 3 kids to be with him, okay? So it should be pretty easy to find her ex-husband that she had 3 kids with. But it turns out that they can't find that man. Yeah, back when Emmanuel Macron was elected president, journalists all over the world, international journalists, were obviously prying into his background and her background, and they just could not find this man. Allegedly, his name is André Louis Auxier, and internationally, they just couldn't locate him. Allegedly, he is a banker, or was a banker, because now they say he died, just suddenly died. But he was allegedly a banker, so it's very weird there wouldn't be a trail for journalists to find him. In 2017, during the presidential election, they tried to interview him, and it was all of their attempts in vain. In fact, in an article that was published in French magazine, Gala magazine, they titled the article as if he had never existed. So that is in the year that he became president. They were just like, this other guy doesn't really seem to exist. It also seems to be the case that every time the press is trying to assist the narrative that he did exist, they keep accidentally showing photos of other men. For example, in 2018, France 3 TV produced a movie entitled Brigitte Macron, un roman français. And they showed this photo very quickly, featuring Brigitte and her first husband, André Louis Auxier. But it turns out that upon inspection, that actually isn't him. It's actually an old faculty photo because it has been confirmed that Brigitte was a teacher. Obviously, that's how she fell in love with the young student Emmanuel. And here is the full photo of the faculty. Oopsies, we got it wrong again. Guys, when I tell you that there is so much proof to this claim, I'm not a person that just pushes out these narratives, right? I'm not a person that's like, come with me and we're going to examine QAnon or Pizzagate. I am telling you that this has legs. And you know it has legs because the press is doing their usual bit of trying to dismiss it as a far-right conspiracy theory that is being pushed by people who are backwards and racist and homophobes and transphobes. No, you're not going to do that. You're not going to gaslight us anymore. It's very simple to debunk this. It is so simple to debunk this. There should be so much evidence. In fact, if this was me and someone lied about the first 30 years of my life, I would do a press conference. I would have my brother there. I'd be like, here's my brother, John Michael. Yes, we do look alike, okay? But you guys are crazy. And then I would have college friends there. I have tons of photos of me growing up, my entire family. And then I would say it is harmful to produce conspiracy theories. Now that we have debunked this, let's talk about the harm of conspiracy theories. They're not doing any of that. Instead, they're just scrambling. Why is this story really important? Why am I asking you to share it? Well, because, like I said, we should have known about this. It's been going on since 2017. But also because what they are saying is that the reason the press is covering this, right, the state media is covering this, is because what's really happening here is 2 individuals were selected to be the leaders of a nation. They were selected on the principle of blackmail, is what they are saying. They are saying that they selected these 2 individuals because they can control them, because they created the wife, right? Because they know the history here. And they can basically say, here's what you're going to do, Emmanuel Macron and Brigitte. You are going to pass through these policies. And there's nothing that you can do to stop whatever it is that we want to accomplish because we control you. Again, we made you. So again, all across the nation in France, they're even having protests. They're wearing wigs that resemble the wig that Brigitte wears and demanding the truth about this situation. And if this is proven to be fact, and again, I'm going to link this, you should read it. It's like 16 chapters. It took me 2 days to read through all of it, and my jaw was on the floor. But if it is proven true, then what we are unpacking here is exactly what we are unpacking in America, that blackmail is what rules the world.
So anyway, she brings up some good points, and, pictures obviously is the way to alleviate this issue. Pictures. Just bring up pictures. Bring out pictures to prove who you are. And they're not doing that. So there's more to it, though. There's quite a bit here that she goes through, so I'll leave it to you guys if you want to examine it further. But it does have some interesting things that come up in the entire interview, in the entire video. And it's very much like the whole Big Mike saga with Barry and Mike. So I don't know. We will see. I'm not sure that we'll ever know the truth here, but obviously those in charge want people that they can use as their puppets. And this may be, if nothing else, maybe exactly what's happening in that situation. Of course, Macron has been instrumental lately here in trying to pressure Russia and getting involved even more so in the whole Ukraine and Russia situation. France is. And where France goes, my guess is NATO will follow, at least to some degree. So, yeah, we'll see what happens. And let's see here in the chat, you guys are saying, Kelly's saying, my question is, if she's a man who had her 3 kids, well, the woman that had her 3 kids could have easily been paid off, right? Because if indeed that she was put in place to be the, quote, wife of Macron, they could have paid off whoever the actual real mother is. I have no idea. And or who knows if the kids are hers. Maybe the kids are hers and they're involved somehow as well. I mean, obviously, if you write the big enough check there, you can get pretty much get people to do anything that you want them to do, at least to some extent. So, I don't know. I'm not real sure. I do think that she brings up some good points here, and she's really staking her reputation on it, which I thought, really, of everything here, that's why this, why is this so important? But I do think it illustrates how people are blackmailed at that level in power. So anyway, yeah, and then several people saying Candace for president, and I'd vote for her and so forth. Yeah, I don't know. I'm not sure. Kelly says, before King Chucky, I always had William as the more likely AC, but Macron has been my number 1 for years. Yeah, I remember that you said that. Like I said, before King Chucky. Yeah. Well, I don't think he has the symbolism. I don't think he has the bloodline, and I don't think his name adds up correctly with gematria to 666. Sounds like Big Mike's kids on loan. Well, maybe. And, one of Big Mike's kids recently has come out saying, just within the last few weeks, somebody who wants to, one of them, I forget which one, Malia maybe, wants to be an actress, and she's dropped her last name, Obama. She's not Obama anymore. She's just going by her first name, supposedly, at least on screen. I'm sure she'll still be cashing the checks that come to her, though, with the last name Obama on the check. That'd be fine. So, anyways, I just thought it was kind of interesting, and it really seems to have legs, as they say, and so we'll see what happens with this story. If I hear any other follow-ups, I will certainly bring it to you guys. ActivistPost.com. I usually just look at the headlines on this site, so let's take a look real quick. Google's AI fiasco exposes deeper info warp. Yeah, Google's having some real AI issues lately. World Economic Forum's young global leader blows the whistle on how lack of sleep is destroying most of our most important asset. Yes, the young global leaders. That's what Tampon Trudeau was. That's one of the things he's been known for, right? They're having a D.C. rally to restore free speech. Is that really very smart? I mean, whoever organized this, was it the same people that organized the J6 protest? I don't think this is a real good idea, personally, but whatever. I guess if you're going to go, leave your cell phone at home so you can't be tracked. So, I don't know. But apparently there's a D.C. rally to restore free speech on March 18th. So, whatever. New paradigm ideas that make a difference for everyone. So there's all kinds of different stories here on Activist Post. There's usually some pretty good ones. Here's the Boeing whistleblower says, if anything happens to me, it's not suicide. We just covered that just a little bit ago. That's a picture right there. John Barnett does not believe. Says friend of John Barnett does not believe it was suicide. Here he is. The Boeing whistleblower who supposedly killed himself reportedly told a close family friend not to believe it if it was announced that he had committed suicide. Yeah, he probably shot himself several times and hung himself. Who knows? So, yep, there's probably all foul play involved, not just some. Just a guess. All right, so that's on Activist Post. And then we've got a few Gateway Pundit articles. NBA legend John Stockton sues government officials over persecution. I don't know if you guys know this. I may have mentioned it before, but John Stockton, I don't know, you may or may not remember him as a basketball player. I do, actually. I remember him as a player. But he has a pretty good podcast, and in the podcast, they talk about a lot of the stuff. And he's a pretty smart guy. So I would highly recommend listening to his, just do a search on maybe Rumble for John Stockton, and you'll find his podcast. It's pretty good. After a career making history in college and pro basketball, John Stockton is taking his name and his game to a different kind of court. Former Utah Jazz point guard, NBA Hall of Famer, and current podcast host is leading a federal lawsuit filed against the state of Washington, Attorney General's office, and the state's medical commission over rules adopted for the that silence doctors who challenge the mainstream media narrative. And the Spokane, Washington native and former hometown hero at Gonzaga is as aggressive on the issue as if he was in the paint. Says in an interview on Fox First, Stockton and attorney Rick Jaffe said the rules the state of Washington adopted in 2021 are an assault on American freedoms and the freedom of science. Yes, I'll trust the science when the science can't be bought. That's my favorite saying. But anyway, this whole article here is about what Stockton's doing in the legal aspect of what he's engaged in here. I thought it was kind of interesting. So that's on the Gateway Pundit. And this one too. You guys might like this one. I don't care for McDonald's, but check this out. McDonald's restaurant goes viral for incredible Jesus-themed Easter display. Yes, I know. Easter and Ishtar and all of that stuff. But just hear me out here. Kind of interesting. McDonald's franchise restaurants across Tennessee have decorated their windows with religious symbols featuring illustrations of the empty tomb, crosses, and the proclamation, "He is risen." The initiative, spearheaded by franchise owners Tony and Gina Wolfe, has sparked surprise and admiration within the local community. The move was first brought to public attention by Burton Staggs, the news director of GM Tennessee River Valley News, who shared a photo of one of the decorated restaurant windows on his Facebook page. "He is risen. Happy Easter." Multiple McDonald's in the Middle Tennessee region share this message. While many companies are opting to stay away from holiday-specific decorations, a Tennessee McDonald's franchise is embracing them. The restaurants are owned by Tony and Gina Wolfe, he wrote in a caption. So, kind of interesting, and then there you can see kind of a long shot here of it. Let me see if I can make this picture any larger. Well, here, yeah, you can see it now. So you can see that it's got the empty tomb, the "He is risen" on this side, the three crosses over here, and "Happy Easter" over here. So they don't exactly fully understand that Easter isn't exactly what they think it is, but they are celebrating it for the right reasons. So I do think it's kind of interesting and pretty wild that it's on a McDonald's of all things, you know. I still wouldn't eat their food, but would applaud him for at least the attempt in this politically correct world. And a McDonald's of all things. I mean, they've probably gotten the phone call from people up on high at the McDonald's franchise, operations, wherever that is, saying, we're gonna take your franchise away from you if you don't take that off your windows or something. So pretty wild. So you got some people out there with a little bit of guts, and not afraid to put out what they believe is true. Washington Post columnist calls on Kamala Harris to step aside for the sake of the country and for many other reasons. Washington Post columnist Kathleen Parker is calling on VP Kamala to step aside. The media is terrified of the ticket that they've supported for the last 3 years. Who exactly do they think is going to come riding in to save them? Michael Obama has made it clear that she has absolutely no interest in running for office. Which, of course, means that's what's going to happen. Just a guess. Anyway, they're calling on Harris to step aside, so they don't want Harris in there, apparently. Which, yeah, they're definitely terrified of her, maybe even more so than old Joe. Yeah, barf. That's exactly right. So, who knows? Who knows? And kind of interesting, Gateway Pundit article, again, lawsuit filed over school orders students not to pray together. It says, "Don't let me see you do that again. Coach threatened track team members." American Center for Law and Justice has confirmed it has filed a federal lawsuit over a school's orders that students not gather together for prayer. In fact, one coach threatened track team members, "Don't let me see you do that again," and after they gathered before a track meet for prayer, the ACLJ said, describing it as a blatant violation of students' First Amendment rights. Yes, but it's Christian, so it doesn't matter. While you would hope that this would be a clear mistake on the part of the coach, one immediately corrected by the school officials, it was not. The legal team said of the actions by the Indiana School District. Even after reporting the incident to the school administration, the matters remain unsolved. The students were subsequently instructed that they must not be seen praying together as a group, and that they could only engage in a moment of reflection alone or in small groups of 2 or 3. That's because they know the power of prayer. They know the power of prayer. That's why they do not want people getting together and praying. So anyway, I was looking to see where in Indiana this was. I don't see where it says, but it might somewhere. Anyway, yeah, that's on Gateway Pundit, and this one is too. I think about quitting every day. Unpopular Canadian PM Tampon Trudeau faces calls to step aside as Conservatives maintain a huge lead in the polls. Yes, but my guess is Trudeau will still win. I'm putting that in quotes, of course. Win, quote unquote. Leading a floundering minority government has been down in the polls since May 2022. Canadian Prime Minister Trudeau is unhappy with his job, but apparently not nearly as dissatisfied as the voters that are giving the opposition Conservatives 36% vote intention against the ruling Liberals with just 21%. Yes, but he will probably still stay in power with just the 21%. Yeah, Kelly says so much for the Bible Belt on that last story. Yep. No wonder the increasingly unpopular globalist poster boy says he frequently thinks about leaving his crazy job. Voters also seem to think about it every day. Needless to say, he plans to stay through another election, even though growing questions about his political future have arisen. Speculation in political circles is rampant that Mr. Trudeau may be eyeing the exit, and some allies have publicly suggested it's time for him to leave. Well, doesn't Trudeau really like Macron, and haven't they been seen in awkwardly long embracings in public? And now we know Macron's wife is probably a guy. What's that tell you? And Trudeau has divorced his wife of however many years. So I think we've found where old Trudeau may be headed into the arms of Macron. Cue the soap opera music if you want. Anyway, that one's on Gateway Pundit. Got a few more from there. Judge orders FBI to release the manifesto from deranged trans shooter to Nashville news outlet. Federal judge ordered the FBI. How well you think that's going to go over? To release the manifesto from the deranged trans shooter for a private review by Star News Digital Media. Audrey Elizabeth Hale murdered 6 innocent Nashvillians at the Covenant School March 27th. Man, we are 10 days away from that anniversary. Man. Her manifesto is reportedly littered with racist, anti-Christian language, which is exactly why they covered it up. A federal judge ordered the FBI to provide Covenant School shooter Audrey Hale's manifesto and other documents for a private review as part of the lawsuit from Star News Digital Media, Inc., the parent company of the Tennessee Star. I never heard of it. The court's order today is a significant victory for the public's right to know about the motives of Audrey Elizabeth Hale, who murdered 6 innocent Nashvillians at the Covenant School on March 27, 2023. Star News sued the FBI in May last year, claiming the Bureau had violated the First Amendment by rejecting multiple Freedom of Information Act requests for the manifesto. It would probably look a lot like that 148-page one that we just saw. That's my guess. Hale's March 2023 massacre targeted the Covenant School and resulted in the deaths of 3 students and 3 faculty members. Yes, you guys who are in the audience now who weren't a year ago, almost exactly, wouldn't know, probably wouldn't have any way of knowing that when I was doing the reporting on this, I was mentioning it because it literally happened. The Covenant School is literally across the road from my wife's office. And she was out of town that day, but the kids, as they were able to file out and get away from the school, all went over to the parking lot in front of the office building where my wife works. And a lot of them were being consoled by people that my wife works with. And, there were obviously a lot of scared kids and tears shed, and a lot of, they had to wait for the parents to get there. And, this one really hit home for me personally. And even though I didn't really know any of these people per se, one of the little girls that was shot and killed was a neighbor of some friends of ours. So, yeah, it's pretty crazy how this whole thing happened. And I did quite a bit of reporting on it right after it happened. And of course, we've talked about this manifesto that was released in part through the Steven Crowder show several months back. So that did come out, at least some of it. Right here is where it's going to talk about it. 7 Nashville police officers were placed in administrative leave following the unauthorized leak of the manifesto. Hale, who fatally shot 3 9-year-olds and 3 teachers. The alleged manifesto was leaked to conservative media personality Steven Crowder. Yeah, and I thought he did a good job with that, as far as putting it out there and then making it known that it was absolutely real. Let's see, you guys are saying, Kelly's saying, Doug, did you hear anything on your local news about the Nashville shooter? No, not really. I mean, I don't watch the local news, so it's hard for me to answer that question exactly, but I'm just reading through what this Gateway Pundit article is saying, and it is interesting. I don't know if this federal judge is actually going to be able to force the FBI to do anything. My guess is no, because they've covered it up this long. So I don't know. We'll see. It says the manifesto, which was shrouded in secrecy since the shooting, revealed Hale's plan to target, quote, little crackers and, quote, white privileged individuals, which sparked a heated debate over whether it should be made public, which of course it should be. And they were even saying at some point that the parents didn't want it to be public. I'm not so sure that was true. That's just what we heard. With such a tragedy as the Nashville shooting hits close to home to people you know, it's hard to refute this stuff is real. Yeah. Yeah, it's definitely real. I mean, it happened. I've got friends and people that I know who were directly involved. I wasn't directly involved, but, I drive by, literally, I showed a picture in one of my broadcasts right afterwards. I literally drive by the neighborhood where one of the little girls was shot and killed, and they still have a memorial outside of her subdivision area, her neighborhood, with her name on it, and this huge wooden heart that's probably, 5 feet by 4 feet or something diameter. It's really big. Somebody put there, and it's still there. It's still there because it was the daughter of the pastor, who was the pastor of the church there at Covenant, and they still live there. The rest of the family is still there. They haven't moved. So, yeah. Anyway, I just thought it was kind of interesting that it looks like this manifesto could be released, but maybe not. So we'll see. I'm not going to be holding my breath on that one. Leo Homan, this is the same guy I mentioned earlier. This is a different article, though. Another country announces it will require its citizens to accept biometric digital IDs. The momentum continues to build for a global digitalized system that will be the final control grid, marking, tracking, monitoring the movement of all things living and non-living. Oh, it's coming. It's coming. They are already underway. Yeah, Kelly says, God help those parents. Yep, I know. It is heartbreaking. It says another country, Nepal, has just announced it will submit to the globalist beast system and digitally mark all of its citizens starting at birth. I reported on similar moves in many countries, including Australia, the EU, Ghana, and China, all characterized by a biometric digital ID. The United Nations itself is organizing a global effort to digitally register all births worldwide. Sounds a little bit like the Book of Revelation, doesn't it? Of course, this is just talking about newborns. They're going to be marking everybody as much as possible, I'm sure, in the very, very, very near future. All right. It says now the government of Nepal will require the digital identity of its citizens as it starts assigning them digital ID numbers at birth. This is the so-called birth registration that I've been warning about for years. It was included in the United Nations Agenda 2030 document signed in 2015 by more than 190 heads of state, including Barack Hussein Obama. As part of its Sustainable Development Goals, I knew early on that the legal identity and birth registration required by the UN system would be digital, even though the word digital did not appear in the original document. But that's what they meant. So yes, Nepal, which is also home to lots and lots of really large-size earthquakes. If you guys watch Dutch Sense at all, he often talks about earthquakes hitting Nepal. Pretty interesting, huh? So yeah, they're going to jump into the digital beast system with both feet, it looks like. Gloves off. Democrat Tennessee state senator calls for riots. So another unhinged leftist, as they say. A Democrat Tennessee state senator has called for riots after Republican lawmakers passed a pro-police bill. Senator Charlene Oliver was responding to the passing of legislation that prevents cities from restricting police officers from making certain types of traffic stops. Speaking to the press on Friday, Oliver, co-founder of the social justice warrior activist group, oh boy, isn't that nice, the Equity Alliance, if it's got the word equity in it, it can't be good, vowed that, quote, we're going to fight. So yeah, we're going to fight, Oliver said. Dr. King said I like how they invoke Dr. King. He would not be for this. Dr. King said the riots are the language of the unheard. You ain't seen nothing yet. If you keep silencing us like this, what do you think our district's gonna do? Well, I don't think, correct me if I'm wrong, I don't think Dr. King was anti-cop, unlike you guys. Gloves off, Oliver continued, we're going to fight like hell. You don't expect us to respond when you gaslight us every single day with these bills. Claims the bill is rooted in racism because it's pro-police. I'm looking to see what the actual bill was about. She says she feels like a slave. Oh boy, it's more of the same. Despite your overwhelming support for my bill that prohibits local governments from banning legal routine traffic stops, leftist opposition has been insane and totally out of touch with reality and our community's demands. Well, that won't stop them. Anyway, that is another article on Gateway Pundit. Tyson Foods under fire and boycott calls for replacing hardworking Americans with illegal immigrants. So this is really just more of what we talked about before. So you guys can check this out if you want to. We'll link to this in the Substack post as well as all the others. Haitian migrant boat with guns, drugs, and night vision intercepted off Florida as Caribbean crisis spreads. So night vision and guns and drugs. Welcome to America, right? Haiti's domestic security has rapidly deteriorated as widespread gang violence and civil unrest plague the failed state. You don't say. I would say it's all been planned. Florida officers find guns and drugs on Haitian refugee boat. There's some video here. And apparently also night vision. Not exactly cheap. Good night vision's what? Five figures, I think, for good night vision. Of course, I guess if it's drug runners, they got the money. Another one. Okay, here's what I mentioned earlier. Another one. United Airlines Boeing 737, back to Boeing, lands at airport with missing exterior panel. But there's nothing wrong. And yeah, the whistleblower just decided he was going to kill himself one day. Another one. A 25-year-old United Airlines Boeing 737 landed at an airport in Oregon on Friday with a missing exterior panel. Says per CNN, the United Airlines Boeing 737-800 lands safely in Medford, Oregon, with a under fuselage panel missing. United says the issue was first discovered when parked at the gate. According to reports, the Boeing 737 departed San Francisco Friday morning and landed safely at its destination in Medford about an hour later with a missing exterior panel. The panel was discovered during a post-flight inspection. It's unclear when the panel came off. My guess is in the air. Go look over the vast wilderness. It's probably where it is. After the aircraft was parked at the gate, it was discovered to be missing an external panel. We'll conduct a thorough examination of the plane and perform all the needed repairs before it returns to service. The FAA is investigating. I know you'll rest easier now. Yeah, it says Friday's problem with a missing airplane panel is at least the 8th time, not the 2nd time, the 8th time a Boeing aircraft was involved in an incident this year. Just this year. We're only in March. I mean, man, I don't really see how people aren't being hurt yet, but I'm sure that's probably coming, unfortunately. So, Boeing does it again. Detroit Pistons guard Jaden Ivey says Jesus is coming. Detroit Pistons guard was not ashamed to share his faith following his 34-point performance against the Brooklyn Nets. 34 is 3 plus 4, which is 7. So that's interesting, huh? In a post-game press conference, the 22-year-old said, "I just want to say that Jesus is the way, the truth, and the life. Jesus is coming back, and we all have to repent for our sins, and we have to put our faith in Jesus. And therefore, he will never, ever be interviewed ever again by the mainstream media. But at least he did the right thing when he had a chance." So, wow. Pretty interesting. Says it's not the first time that he shared his faith on a national stage. As member of the Purdue men's college basketball team, he shared that he was thankful to God for his team's participation in the March Madness tournament. His expression of faith in Christ is refreshing to witness, considering the NBA has been plagued with promoting liberal campaigns and CCP propaganda. Watch the entire press conference here. So YouTube has not removed it yet, but they may. No, I don't know. They must not find it too much of a threat quite yet, so it's still there. One more from Gateway Pundit. I saw this on Hal Turner's website a few days ago and thought it was kind of interesting. Welcome to New York City. Passengers take cover and beg for NYPD to save them after man shot in the head on New York City subway platform. So all these people are laying on each other in this subway trying to not get shot. It says, meanwhile, in the Democrat hellhole of New York City, a 36-year-old man was shot in the head by his own gun inside the Hoyt Schermerhorn subway station in Brooklyn on Thursday during the evening rush hour. Passengers took cover and begged for police to come save them after a man was shot in the head. That's because they're all unarmed except for the criminals. See how that works? Passengers took cover and begged for police. But they never came, I don't think. And the other crazy thing is here, I don't know if it mentions it in this article, was why didn't the train conductor or the person driving take off? Why didn't he just take the train and get it out of harm's way? He just left him sit there and opened the doors. So figure that one out. Again, welcome to New York, I guess. Okay. Well, anyways, we've got some not to be articles here. A couple of those pulled up. Toronto police tell citizens to keep the car keys near the front door so the thieves won't hurt them when they break in. Yeah. Car thefts are up by nearly 25% in Toronto, so naturally, the police are getting involved. But what are they doing to stop the crime? Well, they're handing out door stops, which citizens can install on their front door, making it harder for thieves to get in and steal your car keys. Okay. Door stops. Police are also telling citizens to leave their key fobs near their front door in case one of the car thieves does get in. That way, when they enter your home, they can simply grab the keys, steal your car, and leave you alone. Seriously, that's the advice. Why don't you go ahead and set a really sharp knife next to the keys, too? That's a good idea. How about a baseball bat? I mean, they're not going to have any guns, obviously, so you can't leave a gun there. Only the criminals would have the guns. I mean, why bother even locking your door? Really? Canadian police are encouraging people to leave their car keys in front to avoid conflict with thieves. This is what an unarmed society looks like. What? You hear that? Yeah. I'm looking to see if there was a video here. I was thinking there was. I don't think it's any of these. What a way to fight crime. Just let the criminals take your car. That'll do it. No need to have guns or anything to protect yourselves. No, guns are for criminals. That's right. Only criminals get to have the guns. We know this now. If you didn't know, now you do. Yeah, it says, goodness, you might as well just leave the keys in the ignition at this point. Yeah, I mean, why don't you just give your car away? That'd be easier. Then you don't have to worry about it getting stolen. It's like, how this is the typical explanation of how do you prevent brain cancer? You have your brain removed. It's the same exact thing. All right. $500,000 Massachusetts sand dune built to protect homes washes away in 3 days flat. If you ever constructed a sandcastle at the beach, you know exactly how Salisbury, Massachusetts beachfront homeowners are feeling today. Last month, construction began on a giant sand dune to protect their properties from nor'easter storms after 2 hit the town and brought in historic flooding in January in Massachusetts. Flooding. Doesn't seem like that quite sounds right to me. The project costs upwards of $500,000. It sounds like a great plan, but just 3 days after the sand dune was finished, another nor'easter blew in and washed away the entire project. Welcome to reality. We need to build a wall. Yeah, against the weather. I'm no environmental engineer or anything like that, but my first inclination would be to stop their water invasions the same way we stop border invasions. Or just stop geoengineering. Maybe that would help. Anyway, Pretty strange. That one's on Not the Beat. And this one too. Family Dollar and Dollar Tree are closing 1,000 stores, but everything is fine. I promise. See? Just like this old guy says, this is just fine. This is fine. Family Dollar and Dollar Tree are closing. 1,000 stores. The dollar doesn't buy what it used to. And that's what I'm talking about, Jack. Best economy ever. He is proud of it. Old rubber face. Family Dollar, the struggling discount chain that caters to low-income customers predominantly in cities, will close about 1,000 stores. Family Dollar will close 600 locations this year and 370 stores over the next several years. As store leases expire, Family Dollar has around 8,000 U.S. stores. Dollar Tree, which owns Family Dollar, also said it will close 30 stores as leases expire. Inflation is down, and by down, I mean prices are only rising by 3.2% year over year instead of like 8%. So these store closures couldn't possibly have anything to do with the devaluation of the dollar in any way, shape, or form. It's totally okay that low-income people will now have even fewer places to shop. That's just music to the ears of Democrats who could use some desperate voters to promise things too. It's a good thing, actually, when you think about it. A little background on why this is happening to Family Dollar. And then, of course, it's got the actual info here. And while the Family Dollar is closing about 1,000 stores, keep in mind that Dollar General is opening about 1,000 stores a year. So hopefully that will fill the void left behind. So it's going from Family Dollar to Dollar General. Who knows? But it's fine. This is fine. All right, information liberation. Just read through the headlines here. Israel's chickens come home to roost. Israel's decision to commit genocide in Gaza is radicalizing people in ways never before thought possible. All right, I got to see what that is. Israel's decision, we just read that. Young Turks Anna Kasparian went on an epic rant on Thursday in response to a report in the Prospect detailing how the American-Israel Public Affairs Committee is meeting in D.C. to demand Congress hand over another $14 billion to Israel ASAP. So, yep, they demand. I love it when the criminals demand stuff, don't you? Let's see what Verba Homerett says. I've been working for Dollar General since last summer, and we've raised prices repeatedly, but wages never seem to go up. Wow. Yeah, I wonder why that is. It's the wonderful economy, Jack, right? Just as old Biden says. Ben Shapiro says, it's an anti-Semitic conspiracy theory to say Congress banning TikTok for Israel. So you can forget what I read earlier. That's just not true, according to Ben Shapiro. He should know. Or not. It's an anti-Semitic conspiracy theory to quote the Wall Street Journal and members of Congress themselves, stating that they are banning TikTok to silence criticism of Israel. Well, no, that's maybe that in part, but they definitely have other plans for banning TikTok because they want to ban anything that they want, not just TikTok. TikTok's the excuse. U.S. House rams through bill to ban TikTok. So they've passed it in the House. So what's to stop it at this point? Belgian nationalist sentenced to a year in prison over hateful memes shared in private group chats. So, wow. Welcome to Belgium, I guess, too. Gaza's seaport aimed at sending Palestinian refugees to Europe, Middle East expert says. I think Mike Adams did a story on that recently on Natural News. So I haven't really looked into this too much, so let's see what this says. Gaza's seaport aimed at sending Palestinian refugees to Europe. The hidden objective behind the planned U.S. seaport in Gaza is to facilitate the mass migration of Palestinian refugees to Europe. Sounds like slave trading to me. They're going to put people on a pier and have a boat come pick them up? What year is this? says since the outbreak of the war on Gaza, fake President Biden and his administration have continued to demonstrate unwavering support for Israel. Is that right? Leading some critics to view Washington as a key player in the conflict. However, a recent statement by Biden on Friday introduced a surprising development as he announced plans to direct the U.S. military on an emergency mission to establish a port in the Gaza Strip to get humanitarian aid to the Palestinian enclave. Never mind the fact that the IDF is literally bombing people, supply lines, supplies that come in to Gaza. They're literally going up in flames. Like Egypt airdropped some supplies to some of the Palestinian people there, and the IDF just moments later blasted it all. They literally blew it all up. So they're talking about putting in a port for humanitarian aid. Do any of us really believe that? But observers see another aspect to the floating port linked to encouraging voluntary Palestinian migration to Europe and eliminating the role of the Rafah border crossing with Egypt, essentially placing Israel in control of all Gaza crossings and ending any Palestinian sovereignty over them. Yeah, they're trying to export Palestinians. That's what they're doing. They're exporting them to Europe and to America. That's the goal here. And again, Biden's all for it. Especially if it means more voters, more voter base for the Democrat Party. Saw this and thought it was pretty funny. There's the DEI missile hitting the Boeing. I like the steep climb the plane's doing there. A little crazy. All right, so let's watch a short video here called The Farm Wars. I got this pulled up. I think you guys would want to know about this. Soros pawns are now making it a priority to wage lawfare on the average farmer.
Every farmer is warning us from every field on God's green earth. A reckoning is imminent. The four horsemen of the apocalypse are galloping on the horizon.
Last year in the United States, we lost over 500,000 farms. We lost over 125 million acres of farmland. There's never been a time that the local rancher or producer needs your help. Buy American and buy local.
Microsoft founder Bill Gates is the largest private owner of American farmland. Gates alone holds over 275,000 acres across 19 states.
Our government allowed two giant companies controlled by foreign governments to come in and acquire. One of them is controlled by the Chinese, and they bought Smithfield out of North Carolina. And the other one was a Brazilian company that came in and bought up one of the other major players. Why would we want to have an antagonist own 25% of our meat processing? It makes no sense at all.
Convoys of hundreds of tractors and trucks have slowed or blocked the traffic on major roads leading to major cities in the last 3 weeks. And many of the protesting farmers in France have also stopped after the government there offered a series of financial concessions. And they've also blocked numerous border crossings with the Netherlands. In Portugal, farmers have partly blocked a key bridge on a main road into Lisbon.
In the Netherlands, it was about fertilizer. In Germany, it's about the so-called diesel privilege. In France, it's about restrictions on the use of pesticides.
The CIA media and its satellite propagandists are covering up a global revolution that is far worse than any war. Engineered global starvation in order to rein in the GMO agricultural control of the United Nations Agenda 2030 and the Great Reset.
Climate transition is a key priority for our societies. We need to make sure that our farmers can be a partner in this.
With our new climate and nature plan, we focus on the following three things. First, the green transition. Second, the growing physical impact of climate change. And third, the risks from nature loss and degradation.
Our peaceful and united Europe is being challenged like never before by populists, by nationalists.
We hear the propaganda that increases of the gas of life, a trace gas in the atmosphere, will bring a disaster, and that we will have runaway global warming. Sorry, folks, we've known for 200 years from chemistry that it's the exact inverse.
In America, Soros pawns are now making it a priority to wage lawfare on the average farmer, while a backdoor elimination of fertilizer, livestock, and farms by any means necessary is well underway.
In order to get net zero, first off, we'd have to kill all the animals, including ourselves. Food and energy. Nothing else is as important as those two things. Water, right? It's part of food. They haven't decided to cut the water off just yet.
You know, climate change is a bit abstract. Some people understand it really well. Some understand it a bit. Some just don't understand it. Water. Every kid knows how important it is to have water. When you're playing football and you're thirsty, you need water.
4 billion of us depend on nitrogen fertilizer, which they now say is bad because it's a greenhouse gas or whatever.
And in particular, what the net zero movement does is it ignores the benefits of fossil fuels and it exaggerates the negative side effects. That's the key thing that's going wrong. Fossil fuels are crucial to the availability of food for 8 billion people in 2 ways. So anyone want to suggest what are the ways in which fossil fuels are crucial to food? Fertilizer, so that's one. So modern fertilizer is derived from natural gas. We cannot feed 8 billion people without plentiful fertilizer. Before natural gas, we were trying to use bat guano. That was our best fertilizer. Bat guano didn't scale very well to 8 billion people. Natural gas is crucial. There's nothing close to natural gas in terms of fertilizer.
Meanwhile, a tsunami of illegals is slowly reintroducing screwworms and hoof and mouth disease to American livestock our ancestors tenaciously battled with and eliminated from the U.S. Our nation is running out of time. No one wins in a war against the farmer. Everybody starves and everybody dies. John Bound reporting for InfoWars.
While other networks lie to you about what's happening now, InfoWars tells you the truth about what's happening next.
All right. Pretty interesting report there, I thought. And it says every farmer is warning us from every field on God's green earth that a reckoning is imminent. Led by famine, the 4 horsemen of the apocalypse are galloping from the horizon. So there's the video embedded there, and then a little bit more info on this page. So, yeah. I thought it was a good report and need to know news for sure, right? Modernity, this is modernity.news, video. Biden's handlers have him in massive Hoka shoes. Is it Hoka or Haka? Shoes to stop him from toppling over. What does it say about America when its, quote, leader can't walk around without special shoes? So, did you know he had special shoes? I wasn't aware of that before I saw this article. It says Joe Biden's handlers have him wearing huge lifestyle sneakers in an effort to stop him constantly falling over. This week, people wondered why Biden's shoes looked so humongous as he walked across the White House lawn. So here it is. I guess we should watch it. So Biden shuffles across the White House lawn without taking questions.
Are you worried Putin could use nuclear weapons?
Are you worried Putin could use nuclear weapons? He's just focused on trying to walk and not fall down. The shoes do look pretty big. They look like those snowshoes kind of. But he's just focused on not falling down, and then he sees his real nemesis coming up here. Stairs. So yes. He's too good to answer questions, so don't even bother bringing that up. So anyway, looks like he has some big shoes. And I don't mean that in a good way as far as having big shoes to fill. No, he's just trying to keep from falling over. VaccineImpact.com, how American Christian culture destroys motherhood and kidnaps children of single moms. Modern-day America is largely defined by Western Christian and Jewish values, and those of us who grew up in this culture and read the Bible will naturally tend to read and understand the Bible from our own Western cultural values. However, the inspired authors of the literature contained in the Bible did not write from a Western cultural perspective, but from a Middle East cultural perspective, especially the Old Testament. So yeah, more information here if this is something that you want to get into. I do think it's kind of interesting, especially to write a piece on Vaccine Impact about that, but definitely check into it if you want. The border crisis is run by cartels funded by the U.S. government under every administration. Trump's Freemason border control czar. So there's an article on there, and then there's one more here that's a new one this week. Doctors' offices to be replaced with smart home digital medical prisons. So it sounds a little bit like the wide body area network that we were talking about a couple weeks back. It's been well reported in the corporate media that hundreds of thousands of medical professionals have quit or retired since and those that remain are overworked and unhappy, with many planning on retiring within the next few years. Yeah, because the goal is to make AI be in charge of all healthcare, at least to some degree, so that it takes the decisions on whether you live or die out of the hands of humans and puts it in the hands of AI. So that's on vaccine impact. Maybe 3 new articles that this week on there. GeoWatch for this week, we have show number 449. Tornadoes, hail, and chemical ice nucleation. Severe storms bring heavy snow to the Rockies and baseball-sized hail to the Midwest. Chemical ice nucleation cloud seeding operations are a core component for unstable air masses and massive hail. Late this week, snow is also falling in Arizona at above freezing temperatures while it was raining in northeastern Canada. Does that make any sense from a meteorological perspective? The short answer is no, it doesn't, unless geoengineering is considered. Fruit chaos is coming. Fruit chaos. That new headline from The Atlantic is referring to the crop-crushing effect of record warm temperatures immediately followed by freak flash freezes. This devastating scenario is occurring all over the world, or is it just the result of nature or something else altogether? How soon till the food shelves empty out? Latest installment of Global Alert News is below. And there it is. So let's see, this week we did crop out a little bit more on the front end like we have recently several times. So the embedded YouTube audio there is actually not the full show. It's pretty close though. I think I only cut out maybe 4 minutes or something like that. So the little pieces that we're cutting out are usually him talking about Israel. He doesn't want to take a chance with his YouTube channel talking about Israel, which obviously that makes sense. So what we did was we cropped that piece out for the YouTube version, but it is in the Spotify version and it is in the BitChute and Rumble versions. So if you want to hear the extra few minutes, it's right at the beginning of any of those other shows on those other platforms. So Spotify and BitChute and Brighteon. So yeah, and if you wonder what I'm talking about, I'm doing the audio mastering and editing and stuff for Dane week to week. So I can't believe we're up to almost 450 shows of Global Alert News. Crazy. Every week, he never misses one. So Mr. Dane is highly dedicated to getting the word out about geoengineering. So I'm trying to do what little bit I can do to help him out. And in fact, help him with the website here. So if you're not on the mailing list, feel free to join, totally free. Just go there and you'll see right there above my shoulder, right there, email list, sign up. So click there and put your email in and get on the list. You'll get all the breaking news as Dane sends it out. Actually, I send it out, but he sends it to me and then I send it out. So yeah, the email list is growing. So welcome to all the new people who've signed up. And yeah, we're just trying to get as much info out there as possible. Geoengineeringwatch.org is the website. All right. And then this is the, I usually look at this every week on here on the live show here. So 6 to 10 day outlook. This is the temperature map. So we are in the, I guess, above temperature area, but most of the middle and western half of the U.S. will be below normal. There is no normal anymore, so just whatever you want to consider normal. I guess NOAA has their idea of normal, but again, it's just the scheduled weather. That's all this is. Scheduled temperatures. So above normal in the east, below normal in the west. So anyway, that's on Noah's website, and we'll link to this in the Substack post as well. So if you want to go in there and take a look, there's precipitation listed on here as well. So, and then this one, I saw this, this is one of the websites I usually bring up something, either a video or an article or something each week. Usually there's something on here that's fairly interesting. I only care about it from the standpoint of biblical prophecy because I realize that Israel, the nation state, even though it's the nation state that shouldn't exist and still does, I understand how prophetically it is important. And, I always look for stuff on here to see if they're talking about anything related to the third temple or the red heifers or any of that. Well, I wasn't disappointed this week. I found a video on here. I'm going to link to just the video here on the Substack post when I send it out. Red cows started the war, Hamas's biggest fear. Now, this is a video that somebody has put together, this guy here on the screen, and he's showcasing a CBS Snooze piece that they did on biblical prophecy, the red heifer and the Messiah. Of course, the Messiah is not Jesus Christ; it's the Moshiach, the Jewish Messiah, who isn't actually a Messiah. He's just a regular guy. They're going to call him Messiah, and they want to build a third temple, and they want to sacrifice these red heifers. So anyway, it's more about that. It talks about the altar and how they're going to, theoretically get all these things to work together and how it all is playing into the end times. And even though those words aren't really used, they are talking about prophecy in this CBS report, which I thought was pretty interesting. So anyway, this guy's on here talking about that, and of course he's talking about it from a pro-Israel stance, from a pro-Israel outlook. So it is kind of interesting just to kind of take it in and see what all is brought up in this video. It's pretty long, so I don't really want to play it, but I will link to it. And you guys can go find it and watch it on your own if you want. It's just under 20 minutes. But I thought the CBS report was kind of interesting, just the fact that they even did it. It's pretty wild. And then this one too, actually, this is another step in the whole in that whole process. Why I believe in the Messiah, from this rabbi here. And again, it's not talking about Jesus Christ, not the real Messiah. It's talking about the fake Messiah, their Messiah, the Mashiach. And that's what this video is about as well. This is only a 3-minute video. And I would play this because it's pretty short. However, there's music all over it, and I don't want to get in copyright issue with streaming it, with live streaming, because sometimes if you live stream something with music in it, your live stream can get shut down. So I don't really want to take that chance. But you guys can go watch this. It's only 3 minutes, and it is kind of interesting what this guy's saying. He's all for it. He is all for their Mashiach. Here's what I'll just go ahead and read this, actually. It says, "We hope and pray daily for the coming of the Messiah because we know and believe that it's on its way." I thought that was kind of strange. Rabbi Sinclair is a lecturer in Talmudic logic and Jewish philosophy at the Tannenbaum College of Judaic Studies in Jerusalem. But what's interesting here isn't what this guy's saying, I don't think. It's the comments. The comments are very anti what this guy's saying and pro-Jesus. So I thought that was pretty cool. When the Messiah comes, it will be his second visit, this first person says here. The problem with Judaism, I'm Jewish, is that it absolutely has no clue in what the Messiah is. The reason, rejection of Yeshua, who will come again soon. Let's see. Firstly, as a follower of Jesus Christ, I love Israel and the Jewish people. My God is a Jew. The Messiah you are waiting for is not your Messiah. He will be the Antichrist. So how about that? Well, anyway, I'll let you guys read through those comments. I thought it was kind of interesting on this video. So again, I would play it, but I don't really want to take the chance with the music. And then the Temple Institute on Facebook, they're always up to something here. If you happen to be on Facebook, you can look it up, and boy, they are sure shaking people down for money for the temple. And of course, we covered this in last week's show. The Temple Institute has raised enough money. I'm going to keep saying this over and over. The Temple Institute has raised enough money to pay for a city, an entire city to be built, not just a temple. So don't let them fool you. All right, and then I was watching a interview with my friend Steve Quayle. He was on, I think it was Doug Hagman's show, actually, a few days back, maybe Thursday or so last week. And he happened to mention that he thinks, and I don't know if he has it inside information or if he just surmises that it seems to him that Russia will be hit by the American empire. And possibly Moscow, possibly nukes. And so he was just basically saying something that I've been saying for at least a year plus, and put this document together about a year ago, End Times Events, and right here, nuclear exchange, Russia hit Moscow, ? So I just thought it was interesting that he brought that up in an interview, in a discussion he did just last week. So I hope that doesn't happen, but now we've got somebody else out there saying that it's very possible. All right, well, there is the brand new hoodies. Here, let me grab my hoodie. I've got one here. Conspiracy Analyst, and this one is the maroon version, like what she's wearing there. So yeah, it's available in different sizes. So thank you to you guys who have also ordered hoodies. And if you want to support this show, I'm not taking on any sponsors or anything like that. Don't really want to do that, as I mentioned earlier in the show. And, I would like to keep going with the show. So obviously time is money. Obviously this show takes a lot of time. And the more platforms I put it on and all of that, it all takes time. So thank you all to everybody who has contributed, whether you're buying something from the store, and the link to that is shop.thediamond.report. It's in the corner up there in the black box. Whether you're buying something or just contributing through Substack, thank you guys very much. It means the world to me, and that helps me know that you guys have at least some sort of level of approval as to what I'm saying here and what I'm trying to do, which is simply from the end times perspective, trying to show how those things that we're seeing in the news headlines and as we're seeing and experiencing every single day really prove beyond any shadow of a doubt that we are living in the end times. And that's what I'm trying to do, is just by doing this little show, is trying to point to the fact that yes, we are in the end times, and yes, you better get right with God, because he is coming back very soon in the person of Jesus Christ. So anyway, yeah, so that was it for me tonight, I guess. Feel free to visit the shop if you are so inclined, and if you're not already on the Substack, I mentioned it a few times. The link's up in the black box up there as well, diamonddisc.substack.com, and you can put your email address in there and sign up. Totally free, and no obligation, no anything. Just go there, and you can be on the email list. I will send out probably on Tuesday. It's what it's been lately. Tuesday we'll have all of the links to this final version of the show tonight, including the YouTube version. We've been doing a premiere on Tuesdays at some point, usually either in the afternoon or evening. And we're running a premiere on there so people can go there and watch the YouTube edited version if they're interested in doing that. And then otherwise, though, I at some point tomorrow, I'll have this show up on all of the other platforms, not YouTube, but all the other ones like BitChute and Rumble and Brighteon. And then back on Facebook, actually. So anyway, so there's the Substack. Feel free to sign up on there. Again, totally free. And if you scroll down just a little ways, you'll see all the social media links. And I go through and post this show on all these different platforms, believe it or not. Not just YouTube, but also Twitter and back on Facebook and TikTok. I used to do TikTok. I've kind of stopped doing that for the moment because they really don't like anything I put up. But then, let's see, Minds and Gab and CloutHub and MeWe and Brady on Social and Getter and all those other platforms here. So they're all linked here. If you happen to be on some of those other platforms, you can definitely look me up there. And let's see, it's about 12:30 in the morning here. So I hope you guys have a really good week. I think that's pretty much it for me this week. We can be meeting back up here again a week from now. What is that? The 24th? Yeah, the 24th of March. Wow. Can't believe March is nearly over already. Very crazy. Anyway, hope you guys have a super week, and definitely reach out to me if you need to for any reason, if anything kind of comes to mind, any things you want me to talk about next week. Happy to do that. And the best place to do that, honestly, is to input that stuff into the band group, and that's what Miss Emily has linked to in the chat, both on Rumble and also on YouTube. And then the link for the band group is also in the description box. So yeah, you guys can join the group there. We've had a number of people join pretty recently, and I think we're up to 60-some people in the group, and people going in there and sharing information about what they're looking at, which I think is really great. That's useful to me because it helps me also with ideas for the show. So yeah, if you guys are interested in putting out, those things that you're looking at, I like to take a look at that and just take it in and see if because we're all learning, we're all trying to figure this whole thing out, and obviously there's tons and tons of really good information out there. There's a lot of bad information out there as well. But that's what we're trying to do in the group, is to sort of discern that together to some degree, and look at that and get feedback from others. So yes, so God bless you guys. God bless you all, and thank you for being here again tonight, for spending your valuable time with me tonight. I really, really appreciate that. So let's watch. I've got one more video here I thought was pretty interesting. We were talking about research, and this is really goes right along with that. This is a guy that I like to listen to. Many of you guys know, David Icke, who is talking about the art of research. So I feel like he did a really good job with this explanation. And I thought that I would close the show with this because I think it does a good job of defining, how we're supposed to really approach research and learning things on our own, and how we need to, I would say, even take it a step further than what Ike is saying here, is how we need to take it to the Lord in prayer. I really feel like that's one of the main things that we can do, to know that what we're discerning is right, because it comes from God. So he doesn't go that far, obviously, but he does have some useful info here. So God bless you guys. We'll talk to you guys again very soon.